History 15. Hannibal crosses Alps. The story begins in the aftermath of the First Punic War, a long and bitter conflict fought between Rome and Carthage from 264 to 241 BCE. Rome emerged victorious, forcing Carthage to give up Sicily and pay crushing financial penalties. This loss weakened Carthage's influence in the western Mediterranean, but it did not break its ambitions. Instead, the powerful Barcid family, led by Hamilcar Barca, turned its attention to the Iberian Peninsula. Rich in silver mines and manpower, Iberia offered the resources that would one day fuel a bold plan to strike at the very heart of Rome from the landward side. In the decades that followed, the Barcids built a new Carthaginian stronghold in Spain. Hamilcar's campaigns secured Carthaginian power, and after his death, his son-in-law Hasdrubal carried the torch. Hasdrubal founded New Carthage, today's Cartagena, as a strategic capital, and he signed an agreement with Rome's allies to respect the Ebro River as a frontier. This treaty bought time, but it also marked a line that Hannibal, Hamilcar's son, would later cross. With the mines, soldiers, and bases of Iberia behind him, Hannibal prepared the ground for a daring invasion that would bypass Rome's mighty navy and bring the war directly onto Italian soil. The spark came in 219 BCE at the city of Saguntum, a Roman ally located south of the Ebro. Hannibal besieged and captured the city after months of resistance, an act that Rome could not ignore. Outrage spread through the Senate, and war was declared. For Hannibal, this was no accident. It was the moment he had been waiting for. Rather than fight Rome on the seas, where Carthage was weaker, he would lead his army across rivers, mountains, and hostile lands, carrying the war into Italy itself. His plan was bold, risky, and unprecedented, but it promised the chance to turn Rome's strength into weakness. In the spring of 218 BCE, Hannibal set his plan in motion. He left New Carthage with a great army of infantry, cavalry, and even African war elephants. Marching north, he passed over the Pyrenees, trimming down his forces as he went, and pressed on toward the Rhone River. This long overland journey was no accident. It was a deliberate attempt to avoid Rome's naval dominance and to rally support from the tribes of Gaul. To the astonishment of many, the Carthaginian army moved with determination, showing that Hannibal was willing to attempt what no general before him had dared. When Hannibal reached the Rhone, he faced fierce resistance from the Volcae, a local tribe determined to block his way. Yet Hannibal outmaneuvered them, ferrying his troops and elephants across the river in an impressive logistical feat. Meanwhile, the Roman consul Publius Cornelius Scipio had landed at Massalia by sea, expecting to intercept him. But Hannibal slipped past undetected and continued toward the Alps. Scipio, frustrated, returned to Spain, while Hannibal pressed forward into even greater dangers. Now the stage was set for the most legendary part of his journey, the crossing of the Alps. The Alpine march in the autumn of 218 BCE tested Hannibal's army beyond imagination. For nearly 2 weeks, they struggled through snow, treacherous cliffs, and constant ambushes from hostile tribes. Landslides blocked paths, supplies ran thin, and men and animals alike froze in the bitter mountain air. Livy wrote that the whole march from Spain to Italy lasted around 5 months, with 15 brutal days spent in the Alps themselves. Historians still debate the exact route. Some favor Montgenèvre, while others point to the Col de la Traversette, where traces of ancient dung hint at an army's passage. Whatever the route, it remains one of the greatest feats of military endurance in history. At last, Hannibal and his weary soldiers descended into the fertile lands of Cisalpine Gaul. His numbers were greatly reduced. Ancient sources estimate around 20,000 infantry and 6,000 cavalry survived the ordeal, but those who remained were battle-hardened and fiercely loyal. Crucially, they were soon joined by Gallic allies such as the Insubres and the Boii, who shared enmity with Rome. With this reinforcement, Hannibal's gamble paid off. Despite the heavy losses, he had achieved the impossible. He had brought a Carthaginian army, complete with elephants, into Italy, ready to challenge Rome on its own ground. The rewards of this daring strategy came swiftly. In November 218 BCE, Hannibal's cavalry clashed with Roman forces at the river Ticinus and emerged victorious. Weeks later, at the Trebia River, Hannibal lured the Romans into a trap, winning a decisive victory. These early successes proved that the Alpine crossing was not a desperate stunt, but the foundation of a powerful campaign. Hannibal had secured a winter base in northern Italy, and Rome, for the first time, faced an enemy general who fought not on distant shores, but within the Italian heartland itself. The years that followed confirmed the impact of this audacious march. Hannibal's victories at Lake Trasimene and, most famously, at Cannae in 216 BCA, shook Rome to its core. His campaign forced the Republic to rethink its strategies, expand its armies, and call upon every ally to resist him. Hannibal's crossing of the Alps thus became more than just a physical journey. It was a turning point in ancient history, a move that demonstrated the power of courage, endurance, and strategic genius against overwhelming odds. It remains one of the most extraordinary military adventures ever attempted,